right. Well, thanks for reaching out. I am always like really excited to be able to talk to people who are just interested in getting into like the dance medicine industry. So, do you have like any specific questions that you wanted to ask, or do you just want me to like start mumbling? I can do that too.
I mean, just generally how you like got into it and stuff. That's my main question.
Okay, so how I got into it is a little bit different than other people. So I'll tell you like my personal story of how I got into or got to this point today, and then I'll probably give you like some other like tips and insight that you might find beneficial as well. Okay, so I grew up like as a dancer. I'm classically trained in ballet, so that's like my dance background. And at around high school, about when I was about to graduate, I knew I wanted to do something kind of like body science related for dance, but I wasn't exactly sure what it was. I actually saw like a picture. It was a picture of a lady, and she looked like she was like teaching. She kind of had like the half sweatshirt like off of her shoulder, and she was like standing next to a skeleton, and there were like people sitting on the floor. It totally looked like a dance studio. And yeah, I saw that picture and I was like, that's what I want to do, like something body and like teaching dancers. And so that was my inspiration in a picture, basically. So I got my bachelor's in exercise science because it was kind of like the only major that I thought kind of had like that body science, foundation. I had like anatomy and physiology and all that stuff. And I minored in dance still. And then by the time I graduated with my bachelor's, I was kind of just looking at different types of industries. I thought that I wanted to go and get like an MFA and then figure out a way to try to like flip it so that I could teach a science based type curriculum in a college university setting. Or I thought about getting like a degree in kinesiology, an advanced degree to be able to teach. But then I was like, so how am I going to get into dance if I have a kines degree? And then if I get a dance degree, how can I apply the science part? And then just considering all that, I personally stumbled upon the profession of physical therapy. So then I was like, okay, that's cool. Like you work on bodies, but you're not like a medical doctor and you help with movement and you have some type of like clinical hands-on experience that then you can take into like a classroom setting and like teach people about health and movement and stuff like that. So that's pretty much how I decided on physical therapy. Still didn't exactly know how I was going to turn it around and like put it like in a dance context, but I figured out the profession. So I started doing PT school research, and I ended up finding Long Island University in Brooklyn, which had people on staff who were already studying, doing studies, working with dancers. So they kind of already had like a performing arts appeal. So I applied there and got in, long story short. And so then my PT degree, I went through all my regular courses and then like every opportunity, whether it was like volunteering or even like in my actual like clinical like internships, we called them rotations in PT school, but you'll probably be more familiar with internship. All of my internships, I figured out some type of way to incorporate working with dancers into it. So then after I graduated PT school, I started just working in a general like outpatient physical therapy, like anybody who goes and gets injured and goes to PT afterwards. I was working in like a regular clinic and did that for a while. I started managing single locations, still trying to figure out how I was going to work it into dance. And every once in a while, I would get like one, ice skater or a gymnast or maybe even a dancer in like the regular PT setting. And that was cool. But still, it wasn't like, exactly what I wanted to do. I went to another PT company who said that they had good affiliations with like professional dance companies and stuff like that, and still didn't get the numbers that I wanted in terms of like the volume of working with dancers. So then, again, long story short, I kind of just decided to bite the bullet and like try it on my own. So I was teaching ballet at a couple of local studios, and I started offering like conditioning, screening, injury assessments and stuff at the studio that I was working for, and I would rent out the back room and work with dancers there. And then I was on a couple of sub lists for other dance studios, and people started talking. So then I started working with other dancers in other dance studios doing the same thing. I would rent a space and go and work with whoever, asked me to come out there. So it's basically almost like a conditioning private type thing. And I did that for a while, and that grew. And I was driving like all over Phoenix, which is where I'm based. I was driving all over the city to see like 2 or 3 people. I'm like, that's not too much. Or I was thinking that is too much. So then in 2018, I bit the bullet and I rented like a small, probably smaller, if that's your bedroom, like smaller than that space. It was a tiny little space in February of 2018. And I started seeing people in that space. And then we grew into a 600 square foot space. And then we grew into a 1,300 square foot space. And then September, 2 months ago, we just expanded and now we're in 2,200 square feet of space. So that's basically like my story in terms of like how I personally went out and kind of cultivated a career for myself. And that's how AZ Dance Medicine Specialist was essentially born. I kind of just tried it one day and it's still working. So I'm going to go with it. 2 things from that. So that's my story. But then like, how can someone like you or anybody work or develop or work their way into the industry? One, the dance medicine industry or the dance medicine community is very fluid and open, meaning there is not one set path to be able to work in the dance medicine community. You do not have to be a physical therapist. You do not have to be an athletic trainer. You can be a lot and derive your education from a lot of different sources and still be beneficial in the community. So that's thing number 1. Thing number 2 is that is actually why we have like an education division with my company now, to be able to mentor people, do more training, give more guidance. So if somebody definitely doesn't have a place to start, like I started offering like training classes and stuff like that, because that wasn't around when I was trying to figure it out. So that's one of the things that personally I started doing, is helping people figure out how to get into the industry. But the biggest thing that I would say is that there's no one set path. So that said, the next question that you can ask yourself is, what else or in what way do you feel like you would want to work with dancers in that health and wellness context? And I'll give you a couple examples. I have colleagues who are working with dancers in a Pilates setting. They're Pilates instructors, and they're applying some of the things from either like my training or other courses that they went to or other trainings that they had, but essentially they're certified in Pilates. And that's like their foundation that they're using to work in the dance medicine community. Same with a lot of yoga instructors. Same with podiatrists. If somebody's interested in like medical school and stuff like that, it just really depends on maybe like that secondary interest in terms of how you might want to work with dancers. We have professionals now who work with like psychological and mental health perspectives of helping dancers with their performance. And that's a huge, I think, not necessarily an adjunct, because it's not something secondary. It's just as important as the physical body. But that's a growing little part of the dance medicine community that I'm happy to see kind of take off. Does that start to kind of answer your question a little bit?
Yeah, it does. I was looking into like health exercise as a major in college and minor in dance.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, go on to like PT and stuff. But it feels like for you, it's all like luck, or just like, I don't know, taking a risk for it and stuff.
It's I guess a little bit more taking a risk.
Mm-hmm.
But the flip side of that is you have the opportunity to carve your own path. You don't have to follow in somebody else's footsteps. But then, like I also said, for some people who do like to follow footsteps, or they're not necessarily, because we're all different, we all have different strengths. I like, hopefully, like the conversation that we're having now and the other things that we do, like within the company, to be able to give people opportunities and knowledge to help figure it out. But yeah, so let's see, Pilates, yoga. I feel like I'm missing like a big one. Um, there's something off the tip of my tongue. Oh, or even, working in a studio setting, studio owners or studio instructors. I have instructors that go and get more health and wellness training. So while they're teaching, they're also able to like work and kind of screen their dancers for things that might be going wrong, a little bit off. They can apply more of like a dance based first aid, for something that happens immediately right in the studio, and then they know what they can handle and then what they can refer like to our clinic for. So yeah, even in working like actual teaching and choreography, there's still opportunities to be able to educate yourself in that wellness perspective. So yeah, it's really just all a matter of like, kind of, like I said, I tell a lot of students, or I tell a lot of people who want to work in the industry, I tell them to kind of think about a life in the day of
Mm.
yourself. Don't think about, and I kind of tell them to go backwards from there. Don't think about, I have to go to school for this program in this way, and then I will become, or then I will be able to work in. I tell them to envision, like, what do you see yourself doing? How do you see yourself working with dancers? Do you see yourself like in kind of like a clinic and somebody's on a table and you got your hands on them? Do you see yourself more in a dance studio? Do you see yourself more in like a Pilates studio? See, like, envision what like your perfect day is in that career. And
Mm.
then you can work backwards and see what are the educational opportunities that you have to get there. Okay? Because I will say this, overall, like, your happiness is number one in your career.
Mm.
I think sometimes, and sometimes there were times in my career where I focused too much on like the education part or the making sure I'm making enough money to pay my bills part. It's not there. Focus on what you're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis to make you happy, and work backwards from there. And that's going to set you up just to have like the best possible career that you could possibly dream for. Does that kind of help a little bit?
Yeah, it does.
Do you have any more questions or anything?
Um, yeah. So would like for like someone like me, I guess, or someone starting out, would you recommend like not starting from scratch, I guess, like you did, and like working underneath someone?
Yeah, you totally can. Most of us in the dance medicine community are more than happy to take on like volunteers, host like observation opportunities, internships, things like that. Um, I mean, I know we do. If you ever travel out this way and you want to come like hang out at the clinic and see what we do, like our doors are always open. Give me a call if you're ever passing through Phoenix. I will hook you up. But even most of the people like in your like northern, because you're in that upper northern area, there's lots of dance medicine professionals up there. Start calling around and saying that you're interested in getting into working in the dance medicine community. Can you come shadow for a day? Can you come observe somebody? And start looking in those different areas. So start researching and seeing physical therapy clinics, Pilates studios that work with dancers, massage therapists that work with dancers, and start sending like little emails, Instagram messages, whatever you feel comfortable with in terms of reaching out, and just ask if you can come shadow for a day or a couple of days or something like that. Most of us in the dance medicine community are more than happy to have people come and observe, because we came from yeah, a time where there wasn't anything going on and we had to figure it out. So most of us are more than willing to kind of pass that torch on to the next generation of dance medicine specialists. So yeah, reach out and just go start volunteering, observing, seeing what the different types of jobs and how they work with dancers, see how it goes. And you might just stumble upon one that you kind of like a little bit more than the other. And then
Mm.
you can kind of go from there and start figuring out the details of how you can kind of take on that path. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Remind me where you are. You're like near New York, right?
I'm in New York.
You're in New York, like in the city, like
No, Long Island.
you're in Long Island. Okay, you're in Long Island. Hmm. Okay, I'll email you a couple of names to get you started.
Mhm.
Okay, to
Thank
reach out to and see if they're available for observing and stuff like that. Some people who I went to PT school with, so they know what
you.
I do. But yeah, I'll shoot you a couple of names to look into, and just yeah, reach out and tell them that I gave you their name, and if they're available for any like observation or volunteer or anything like
Thank you.
that. No problem. Is there anything else that you can think of that you want to know?
Um, do you still dance, or is that like just not really anymore?
I don't really dance anymore. That's a personal choice. I could if I wanted to. Like I have availability and time in my schedule that I totally could. I'm not sure if I have the ability to commit to like a professional company or anything like that, but I could definitely have time in my schedule to take classes. Um, I'm right now looking into exploring other hobbies and other
Mhm.
options. I was teaching and doing choreography up until last year. Yeah, last year. And this year we just grew so much. So now I run the business and work with clients full time. So I was teaching all up until then. But yeah, a lot of my colleagues, even Lisa, who works with us here, and she actually sees most of the dancers, she still teaches. So she actually, if you heard the doorbell earlier when we were talking, that was Lisa leaving, and she's going to the studio for the rest of the evening. So Lisa still teaches, and she works here in the morning. But yeah, and a lot of us in the community still try to keep connected in some way. So I still attend performances, I go to competitions, all that good stuff. But for right now, no, I'm not. Me personally, I'm not currently.
Okay. But it is an option if you wanted to.
Anything is an option if you wanted to.
Mm.
Remember we talked about making.
Yeah.
Remember we talked about the day in the life of. If the
Mhm.
day in the life of for you is I'm working with dancers or I'm working in my community until 3 p.m. and then I go and take some classes in the evening 3 or 4 nights a week, that's your day in the life of. And
Mm.
that's fine. And then you can figure out how to make that happen. Or if your day in the life is I wake up and I take a couple of classes in the morning from like 9 until noon, and then from 2 until 7, I'm working with the dancers. That's your day in the life of. So that's
Mm.
kind of what I was talking about. Carve it out for what you really feel like you want to do, and then work backwards from there.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. This does not have to be the last time we spoke by
Mm.
any means. So um, I'll actually send you, since we're recording this, I'll send you the recording too. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, just reflect on it, think about it. And if you have any other questions, shoot me another email. We can jump on another Zoom and chat again. I'm more than happy to talk to you as many times as you want to help you figure it out.
Thank you.
No problem. Got anything else?
Nothing that I can think of right now.
That's totally fine. Like I said, kind of think about it. Like I said, I'll send you the recording and you know where to find me if you need anything else or have any other questions. Okay.
Thank you so
And by
much.
the way, purple is my favorite color. So like loving like everything that I'm seeing. Is
Thank
that
you.
purple on your wall or is it more like gray?
It's more like blue,
Oh,
not really purple, yeah.
well, it looks purple to me, so I'm just gonna say it's purple. All righty, sweetie. Well, it was so nice talking to you. Like I said, you know where to find me if you need me for anything. You know where like our website is, and I'm sure you probably follow us on Instagram and stuff already. So like keep up with everything we're doing and reach out whenever you need to. Okay?
Thank you so much.
No problem. You take care. We'll talk soon.
You too, bye.
Bye.